Greetings everybody, thank you very much for joining me here on the very first upload for the RetroFabStyle YouTube channel. Now it's a little bit of a strange reason why I decided to start this channel, because actually my main business is selling audio hi-fi products, and I've got another channel where I've sort of dedicated that to the products that I sell. So I decided I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I thought I would do a channel about sort of retro style fashions. And the reason I decided to set this up is because I've always been interested in sort of the two-tone ska music session type of music. And when I first saw two-tone music on Top of the Pops and listened to bands such as Madness, The Specials, The Beat, The Selector, etc., I found myself really fascinated in the type of clothing that they wore. As a 10-year-old, it was something that really deeply impressed on me on how cool they looked, especially when they were dancing, singing. I thought they looked absolutely fantastic in their black and white gear. But by the time I was 18 years old, as I say, when Two Tone started in 1980, I was only actually 10 years old. And I was 18 years old when I actually left the UK and I headed off to Spain, and I spent 30 years living in Spain. But Spain is completely different to the UK. Obviously the climate in Spain is hot, where the climate in the UK tends to be sort of cloudy, damp and rainy. It's very rare that we actually have really hot sunny days, where on Spain it's constantly hot. So the type of clothing that you wear in Spain is completely different to what you wear here in the UK. In Spain it was a lot more casual and laid back to what I was experienced to seeing in the United Kingdom. Because I used to work in London, I was accustomed to seeing men dressing up wearing suits and ties. Where when I arrived in Spain, because the weather was so hot, everyone was much more laid back and casual in their dressing. So in the time that I spent living in Spain, I actually found out, because my body didn't change that much, I didn't get massively bigger or put on weight or anything like that, I didn't really need that much new clothes. You could end up wearing the same t-shirt, same few t-shirts over and over again, because that was like the lifestyle there. Everybody wore shorts and t-shirts, and that was about it. As I say, I spent 30 years living in Spain, and when I did actually finally come back to the UK and I got here, I realised that I didn't have no clothes. I just had a wardrobe of very old t-shirts or shirts I hadn't really worn that much. I just had a couple of shirts. I think I had one shirt actually left over from when I was living in Spain. As I say, all the years that I spent living in Spain, I spent no money at all really on any type of apparel or clothing. So as I say, when I was back in England, I looked at my wardrobe and I thought, goodness me, I'm going to need some new clothing. Obviously now I was also 30 years older and I needed something sort of to suit my age, and I thought to myself, well, I can't really wear the same clothes as what I wore when I was sort of 10 or 18 years old. But I wanted to investigate a little bit more sort of what clothes were available, because as I say, I was totally oblivious to any type of clothing, brand names or anything in that nature. As I say, I do remember certain things about 1980, a couple of the brands, but I thought to myself, do these brands even exist? So on my part, it took a little bit of research. I knew in my mind the kind of image and type of clothing that I liked. As I say, I was heavily into two-tone. I liked the rude boy kind of look, and I also liked very much the retro 60s mod look. As I say, as an older man, I wanted to sort of look smart at the same sort of time. I didn't want to look sort of untidy or anything like that. So I was looking for clothes that I thought would look still nice in the year 2022, but still sort of kind of have that retro look to them. So as I say, I needed to do a little bit of investigating to see what type of clothes were available. Because in the 80s, I remember we had brands such as Fred Perry. I don't really remember much about Ben Sherman, but I remember a lot of lads wore Levi jeans and Dr. Martin boots and stay press trousers and loafers, braces, white button-down shirts. But I don't really remember much about the branding or the names of the companies that made this type of clothing. As I say, I even thought to myself, they probably don't even make this type of sort of retro look anymore. So I say I needed to get onto the internet and find out what type of clothing was available for me. So that's what I've decided to dedicate this channel on, my sort of journey of sort of having to replenish my wardrobe, to sort of start again from scratch. And just for example, I've been back actually in the UK for 4 years now, and I started to buy new clothes obviously because, for one, the weather here is completely different. Here in the UK we have 4 seasons, and I need to buy clothes sort of to match up to the 4 seasons we have here in the UK. So just to give you a brief example of the type of clothing that I'm going to be showing you, I've got 2 samples of 2 pieces of clothing I bought fairly recently. They're actually, just to get the ball rolling, it's just 2 polo shirts I'd like to show to you. And the first one is one I picked up the other day. I managed to get this for a bargain price because we all like a lovely bargain. Sorry about the rustling sound here because it's still sort of, I think, got its wrapping on the inside of it. As I say, I haven't worn it yet, but I'd just like to show you it. I can hold it up there for you to see. It's by a brand I've never heard of before actually. It's called Weekend Defender, if you can see it there. It's in a lovely blue. It's kind of, I think it's called ocean blue or something like that. And the other piece of clothing I'd like to show to you, oh, something's just fallen on the floor, is this from, again another brand I've never heard of before. I can just hold it up there for you. It's all rustly because it's still got the plastic packaging in it. Let me just remove that out of the way there and put that down there so it doesn't make so much rustling. There, if I just hold it up for you, if you can see that, if it's being in focus. It's a lovely pink polo shirt, and this is from Trojan. Now, I'm sure if you're into this sort of clothing, I'm sure you're fairly familiar of the name Trojan. Obviously, it's from the era 1969 and Trojan Records, but obviously I've learned that they've also now got their own sort of clothing label, and that's just one of the items there that I've managed to pick up from the Trojan clothing label. As I say, I think it's in an absolutely beautiful coloured pink. I'm going to be able to, in the future, try on some of these clothing to show you what they look like on. As I say, my body type is, I'm generally a thin person. I'm also unfortunately, rather on the small side. I only measure about 5'5", 5'6", so yeah, a little bit on the small side, unfortunately. I'd rather wish I was 6 foot tall, but unfortunately it's not to be. As I say, I'm 5'5"-ish. Generally when I buy clothes, I'm sort of medium size. Tend to sort of buy sort of 40-inch polo shirts. I say I can fit into a 38-inch, but they are a little bit tight. I do tend to like my clothes to be a little bit larger, so I've got a little bit of space to move around in them. So as I say, the t-shirts I buy tend to be sort of 40 inches, and the trousers I buy, I am a 30 or a 32. I tend to find with different brands it's sort of slightly different sizing, but generally I like to wear a 32-inch trousers, and I'm probably in length about 31, but most trousers tend to come up in 32 inches, so I do tend to find I need to get a hemstress to take up my trousers for me. Anyway, that's just a brief idea of some of the clothes I'm going to be looking at through this channel. As I say, it's mainly going to be sort of clothing from the 80s and sort of mod type fashion from the early 60s. So thank you very much everybody for tuning in, and just say it's just a little brief introduction of the type of clothing I'm going to be showing here on this channel. Take care everyone, and I'll see you soon, and once again, thanks for watching.